Welcome to the Carnegie Connection with your host, Robert Graves.
Hey, welcome to this session of the Dale Carnegie Connection. I'm your host, Robert Graves, and we're here to talk about all things Dale Carnegie as it relates to the business person and how you improve your skills and marketability in the workplace. Today we have the great honor of having a dear friend of mine, Aaron Kent. And Aaron Kent actually works for Dale Carnegie Corporate. Don't you, Aaron? Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you, Robert. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Glad you're here. Now, he has the coolest title. I love this. He's called the Director of Sales Talent Excellence. And as everybody knows, I'm an old sales guy. I love to talk about sales. So, Aaron, how did you get such a cool title, Director of Sales Talent Excellence?
I think I got lucky on the coolness of the name, but fortunately, the coolness of the work is equally matched. So, I had an opportunity to sell the franchise I owned for a decade, Robert, about 2 years ago. Passed it on to another great company, and at the very same time, Dale Carnegie and Associates was looking to really revamp our sales training for our own people, not just our third-party Dale Carnegie clients, but people like yourself out there in the world that are working with our customers. And so I got brought in really to kind of retool our approach to helping develop our own sales talent. So that's primarily what my role is today.
And you are really good at it. I've been in many of your classes, and they've certainly helped me. Matter of fact, that kind of leads into our Dale Carnegie principle of the day, taken from our Dale Carnegie Golden Book. It's to be a strong leader, you use to need, and that leads us into our Dale Carnegie principle of the day, taken from our Dale Carnegie Golden Book. To be a strong leader, Dale Carnegie recommends principle number 28, give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. Aaron, I know you're all about giving people a fine reputation to live up to. I've seen you do it many times with many people in your trainings. How have you done it lately?
A good question. And I think that principle is so vital for human nature, because most of us don't show up to do anything work-wise to do a bad job, right? We show up to do the very best. It may not be that other people perceive that always, but we don't come in showing up to screw up, right? So oftentimes if we give other people the belief that we believe in them, that we believe in their capabilities, they're highly motivated to want to live up to that reputation. So it's very, very influential. It's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy at play there. I had an opportunity to use that principle just today, in fact. We're working on a major new rollout of a new product for our Dale Carnegie salespeople, and I'm at the stage now where I'm sharing it with some subject matter experts. So this individual that I was sharing it with today to get his feedback, I basically started with a fine reputation and spoke to how analytical I had seen him be in other situations where he had looked at something new and he was able to pick out details or questions or possibly even holes in the idea that everyone else was missing. So I asked him to use that ability as I showed him the new concept that we're coming out with today. And wouldn't you know it, he was beautiful. He caught 2 or 3 things that every other person I've shown this to, which is now 50 plus people, completely missed. So it's knowing a person's skill set, telling them that they have it, telling them you believe that they'll use it, and usually they will.
Hey, that sounds a lot like the strength-centered comment that Dale Carnegie teaches in several of its classes. Like, I know I teach it over in the sales class, and I've seen it in leadership training for managers, and I believe we even teach it in the Dale Carnegie course itself, don't we? So what's the principle, what's the concept behind a strength-centered comment? How does that work, Aaron?
Sure. That's similar to the fine reputation to live up to. It's strength-centered comment means we actually have to observe the person. Like Yogi Berra said, you can observe a lot by watching, right? So we observe the person and we want to pick out something we see them doing well. So what is this person doing right? And it could be a simple thing or it could be a significant thing. The key in both of those instances is we note it and we tell the person about it. But we don't just say, hey, you're good at that. Instead, we say, I noticed this about you. You're X, Y, or Z. and I admire that about you. Here's the reason I say that. And then we give them some evidence, right? We tell them what we observed by watching so that they don't perceive it as an off-the-cuff remark or we're trying to get something over on them. Rather, they see it as what it really is, which is genuine praise. And many times, if we give a strength and back it up with evidence, it can't be perceived as anything but genuine praise.
Hey, you owned a Dale Carnegie franchise out on the West Coast for a long, long time, didn't you?
I did.
And at that franchise, I bet you had lots of opportunities to give people a fine reputation to live up to. How does that help your salespeople when you told them how they had a good reputation and they could use it out in the industry? How does that help your salespeople?
I think it definitely breeds a layer of confidence that they may not have otherwise. They might know they have that ability, but once it's recognized by somebody else, aside from themselves, oftentimes it becomes a lot more real and authentic to them. In addition, I think they want to continue to show you that they're living up to that reputation, to show you that they're leveraging that strength that you noticed in them. So much can happen through honest, sincere appreciation and recognition. It plants seeds that people want to see happen and grow over and over and over again. So thinking back to my team when I owned the franchise, I had some really dedicated, wonderful people, people I would consider family in most cases. Yet if I look at that team, we didn't have per se a home run hitter, right? We didn't have one person that was going to go out and close the gazillion-dollar deal every time. We had a lot of good people that made consistent sales. So as I look back to that team, it was really helping them all recognize that being a consistent performer is incredibly valuable, not just the peaks and valleys of the home run hitter.
And this is all about sales talent development, especially when it comes with the concept of excellence, like in your job title, right?
Yep.
Where's the excellence part come in? How does that come into play? What does excellence mean anyway, Aaron?
You bet. And I would say in our instance, it's two things. It's first of all, understanding what a person's unique innate talents are as a salesperson, because there's many misconceptions that there's one style, one personality type that will be successful in a selling environment. And it couldn't be further from the truth, right? There's a wide variety of unique strengths and talents that will work. The key is for a person to understand that and then leverage to it. So sales talent excellence says we're going to uncover that innate talent and strength. We're going to make you aware of it. And then we're going to provide you tools, systems, training, coaching to develop that innate talent into excellence and to being one of the very, very best you could be given your innate strengths. So it's a combination of uncovering talent and then really rapidly developing that to a level of excellence.
So Dale Carnegie training certainly has lots of different trainings that helps people increase their ability in communications and sales and customer service. Hey, let's talk about managers and leaders for a few minutes, because if you are all about sales talent development, Aaron, you must be dealing with a lot of sales leaders. Is that the case?
It is, yep. In my role, sales talent excellence is really every layer. So it's brand new entry-level person. It's a seasoned, proven person like yourself as a salesperson. It's a sales leader that's leading a team towards success, which I know is another role that you've played. And it's even at the franchise owner level, helping them not just with the performance of their team, but their long-range sales strategy. So 100% it's all the above. So in my work, I'm very often working with sales leaders within the Dale Carnegie network. And one of the main things we're getting across to those folks is just because you might have been a superstar salesperson when you were a sales rep doesn't guarantee that those skills are transferable into your leadership role now. In fact, there's a whole new set of skills you're probably going to need to develop and learn as a sales manager or sales leader.
What? I mean, you're topping your game. You're the best at sales. Why don't you just automatically become the best as a sales manager? Is that a different skill set?
I would say it's very much a different skill set. As I look at what a sales manager does, they really have to know the entire life cycle of a salesperson. So that's what's their talent acquisition strategy, right? Who are they looking for? How are they attracting them? How are they going through the recruiting and the hiring skill set? So that a salesperson doesn't innately have to do that. That's something a sales leader definitely has to develop. A sales leader also has to know how to onboard people. So once you do make the hiring decision, what are you doing over the first 90 days to make that person feel welcome, to help that person integrate into the culture, and to help that individual think they made the right decision to join your organization? That's also a skill set that a sales leader needs to develop. Then you go further downstream, there's a whole set of skills around coaching salespeople, which doesn't necessarily correlate to a selling skill. And finally, there's performance management, appraisals, things of that nature. Again, doesn't happen too often in a sales role. So right there, we've just hit on 4 things that if you threw somebody at a sales management job that was a great salesperson and you don't give them that training, they're, up the creek without a paddle to some extent. So we must recognize if we're moving a person in that role, there's a new set of skills we need to help them develop to be good at it.
Wow, it sounds like there's more than just one kind of leadership training that a sales leader needs. They need a certain skill set to help people to sell more, and then they need a secondary skill set so that they can manage that sales team. Those aren't the same things, are they?
They're really not. They can draw upon their experience as a sales rep for credibility with their team, but that's about it. Joint selling opportunity, yeah, we can use it there as well, but day-to-day, what made you great in that role is only going to give you credibility in this new role. So very much you're 100% on point. There's 2 different things at play. There's my selling skills, which I'm going to help my team learn and leverage, and there's also my leadership and management skills, which is a whole different ballgame. I need to have both.
So if you have both of these skills, now you become a really talented leader. And you're able to do like principle number 28, give that other person a fine reputation to live up to. And we know salespeople of all people need a good reputation. They need to understand that they're ethical, moral, they're doing the right thing, they're helping their clients. They're all about building a customer relationship, aren't they?
Absolutely. Well said.
Hey, now sales, that's simple. You just go out and you convince somebody that they really need what you're selling, right? It's really easy. You just go force them to buy what you're selling. Isn't that the game? No, not at all, is it?
No, unfortunately.
It's not about... What is sales like now? Maybe that's the way it used to be, I don't know, 50, 100 years ago, but we're now. And how does sales happen now, Aaron?
Yeah, in today's world, you really have to create an environment where the client wants to buy from you. It's really not about selling them anything. It's making them eager to buy. And so what really drives that is a multitude of things. But I think at the core of it is we have to give that other person or team of people making a buying decision the belief that we're very vested in their success. And we have to really believe that ourselves, because we could have the best solution in the world for a customer, but if they don't believe we're really in it for them, if they don't trust us, if they don't really ultimately think we're in it for their success, they'll probably go with somebody else. In addition to that, we have to be fit culturally with that company. So how do we uncover that? How do we demonstrate that? And then finally, we have to know ultimately what they're striving for and be able to get them there. So you think about all those things that play there. There's a whole lot of comprehension and development that needs to go into being good at that. And so in today's world, we have to really know a lot of things to make a successful sale happen, where, yeah, maybe 50, 70, 100 years ago, we knew the most about it. We could shove somebody into making a decision on it. It doesn't work that way today.
Not at all, doesn't it? Matter of fact, what Dale Carnegie teaches now is really encapsulated in the title of our new and latest version of the sales program. What's that title of this sales program? Do you happen to remember it?
I do. Our product for our clients is called Winning with Relationship Selling, with the key emphasis.
Oh, relationships, really? Relationships? You mean like building camaraderie with our clients? That's Absolutely. A crazy concept. How do you do that, Aaron?
I think it's 2 things. One, it's being able to connect with the person on a human level. Not like we need to be best friends with them, but we need to have the ability to establish a trust and a rapport on a personal level. I think it goes even beyond that today, though, A big part of helping them trust us, respect us, work with us is demonstrating that we really can do what we're saying we're going to do. So have we done it for somebody in the past? Can we prove that? All those variables are going to go into whether or not that person sees us as the right resource for them.
So you've got a salesperson. They're in the field. They're doing their job. They're building rapport. They're connecting with clients. They're creating solutions with them. They're collaborating with them. They're confirming their appointments. They're making their meetings, and they're gaining commitments. Is that all part of the customer relationship cycle?
Yeah, it really would sound like it to me. That's to me sounds like a regimented sales cycle, but it's taking the client into consideration every step of the way. One of the most common mistakes I see salespeople make, and that's Dale Carnegie salespeople and many third-party clients I've worked with, is we make the assumption that our selling process is driving the decision-making. The reality is the client's buying journey is what's driving the decision-making. Our job is to calibrate and meet them accordingly.
And we're just jumping on board that train, aren't we?
Exactly.
They're determined to buy something, and we're just getting on with them. And we build that strong relationship with them. It increases our chances to do what? What happens if we build a strong relationship?
We've got a much better chance at winning that deal. At the end of the day, we still have to have a viable solution that's credible. But let's assume we have that. The client is generally always going to go with the person they trust more and respect more. I thought it was just budget. I mean, isn't that the only thing? It's price, get the price low, lower, discount that thing, give it away, sell it below cost. It's not just about the money. No. I've had that debate in probably every sales workshop I've taught for the last 15 years. Well, all they really care about is the lowest cost. And you and I both know that's far from the truth. That's a knee-jerk surface-level reaction. That's an easy way to hook us into a negotiation we're going to lose. But really, that's not what's driving their decision. They want to have a solution that's going to give them the outcomes that they want. And if we could show them, maybe dollar for dollar, that comparison isn't as vital as looking at your return on investment for this, or your total cost of ownership for this, your sustainment of this. Are you really comparing apples to apples when you look at this proposal versus that proposal? That's where our creativity and problem-solving skills as a salesperson has to be in play. If we're trying to win the deal on price, we're just a commodity competing with another commodity. We really don't need a salesperson.
Can't win that game. So question, we're talking about salespeople. Now let's take it up that notch. Let's talk about their leaders and talk about sales talent development. How do the leaders encourage their people to get out there and sell and quit selling on price to actually sell on value? What do they do? What's a sales talent leader supposed to do?
You bet. I think a couple things they can do. A very straightforward way would be to provide your team training around that skill set. If they've not been provided viable sales training or coaching on how to position solutions separate from price, they're kind of out there with a gun with no bullets in it. So that's a skill set that we have to impart to them somehow, whether that's internal training or using a third-party vendor like Dale Carnegie to support you in that. We need to provide them the appropriate training and coaching to know what solution selling really is. In addition to that, it's a level further. It's providing them the training up front, but it's also providing them ongoing coaching as a sales leader, so that we're not just looking at the surface level skill, but we're looking inside of deals that they're working on. What's happening in that conversation of that deal in your pipeline, and really match up where they need to take the conversation, match up the direction that opportunity needs to move in. So that'd be the second variable. So it's training and coaching, 1, pipeline management, 2, and I would say probably the third variable of that is we've got to highlight successes our company's having where we are doing this. So which sales team member, or me as the sales manager, if I'm a player coach type, what's a recent example of where we did win a deal and it wasn't our price? In fact, maybe we were the most expensive solution on the table, yet the client chose us without question because they knew there was far more value in us than there was anyone else. So those are 3 ways.
Because it's all about value. It's all about creating relationships and value. Those two things are the things that drive sales. All salespeople need to understand that, don't they? You know, you've been doing this a long time, and now you're training the internal people in Dale Carnegie to go out and be strong, relationship-driven salespeople. How are you doing that nowadays? Because you're doing it globally.
Yeah, it's been really exciting, Robert. You know, I spent the majority of my career in Dale Carnegie working within a franchise territory, like many of us do. So I knew Dale Carnegie and the Los Angeles area like the back of my hand. Now, for the last 2 years, though, I've really started to understand Dale Carnegie selling on a global scale, simply because we have to. You know, we're a company with 205 offices, operating in over 85 countries, in over 40 languages. So to be able to scale the development of our people, we really can't do that face-to-face as much as we'd like to. It'd take us a while to fly to all 205 offices and train everybody. So in the live online environment, what we've been able to do is take really a blended learning approach. So what that looks like is our participants are easily able to register and enroll for our program online. Then they join the program, and everything is housed within a learning management system. So they log in to that system, everything is there. And that's their manual, their links to log into the sessions, their message boards, everything in between. So that's in one place, and it's not even physically there. It's on their computer, you know, and it's up in the cloud on the internet. Above and beyond that, we're able to take the learning solution and take something that would be knowledge related, so it's just foundational information. Today, we provide that usually in on-demand video. So they need to know this before they can go to the session, yet we're not burning live time together acquiring that knowledge. They can go and hit play on that video whenever the time is available for them prior to that session. And then you look at the live sessions themselves, that's really where the magic happens, because in today's technology, we're able to recreate in very many ways a live in-person experience. So a person that comes into a live online Dale Carnegie training environment, you know, we're interacting in a multitude of ways. We've got the chat window where there's a conversation going on. We have the live audio where all participants are getting involved at some point. We have the ability to take them to breakout rooms where they can practice with one another. We have the ability to have them raise their hand, give us a thumbs up, a thumbs down on something. We've got the ability for everyone in the room to go and whiteboard on a topic, which try to do that in a live session. You can't, right? We can't all go up to the whiteboard and draw on it face to face, but online we can. So we've got these this really sophisticated technology today where we bring it all together and allow us to train people all over the world. And at last I checked, we had been able to train roughly 50% of all Dale Carnegie salespeople in the world in the last 18 months. And our only
That's huge.
What's that?
I said, that's huge. That's a lot of people. How'd you do that?
Thousands of people in a very short period of time. And our only limitation up to this point has been that we needed to get the program translated into a series of other languages, but that's almost done as well. So that 50% we've done in 18 months will very quickly go to 100% over the next 12 months. So we will literally be at 100% of our network trained on the same system and a similar approach all around the world in, you know, a little over 2 years, which looking in the past, if we tried to have a common solution like that any other way, it was probably never going to happen. And if it did, it was a decade worth of effort, if at best.
Now, hold on a second. Hold on. I've taken some of those computer courses before. When I worked at Computer Associates, they were great about training their people. The big companies want their people to be highly, highly trained. And this is a long time ago, like over a decade ago. And I'm at Computer Associates, and I'm taking this class, and this little cartoon character pops up on the screen, and they say a lot of stuff, and I've got a manual, and I'm supposed to be writing stuff down, and the phone rings, and I'm like, okay, there's nobody live or human here. So I answer the phone, and the next thing I know, I've missed half of the training, and then it's like, well, I might as well check my email. Why would I ever want to go through that experience again? It was really horrible. I felt like I didn't learn anything. Is there something different about the way Dale Carnegie's doing it?
Yeah, there is, Robert. Well, the technology's come away since that experience for you, fortunately. That I can't, Dale Carnegie can't take credit for that. That's just the world moving. But above and beyond that, probably the major difference, so technology aside, we leverage Mr. Carnegie's facilitation principles that we have for over 105 years in a live in-person setting, and we've transformed those into a live online setting. So that's been by virtue of some of our finest trainers in the world providing input, as well as hiring people within Dale Carnegie that were experts in live online training before they ever came to us. So today, we've been able to create a live online experience, and anyone that goes to one of our public Dale Carnegie live online sessions will see this, where you can't really hide. You can't really get in the background and kind of just pretend to be involved. You're going to get embarrassed pretty quickly, and we're not looking to embarrass anybody, but we are looking to have everybody actively involve themselves in the session. And once you're in one of our sessions, you'll know really what that means.
Hey, I know what you're talking about. I'm loving the training that I've been through that you've been teaching, and some of the other great Dale Carnegie trainers have been teaching live, online, highly interactive. I mean, once you get into this thing, you are having a hard time pulling yourself away from the screen. You're like, oh, I got to type in the chat now. Oh, I'm going to write on the whiteboard now. And you just really get into it. And before you know it, the time's gone by and you had a great time. Now, that's the kind of training I'll do on a computer. I love that. How are we taking that internally with Dale Carnegie around the world? What are we doing with that training? Who are we training?
You bet. So the interesting thing is the live online product really was developed for our third-party clients first. We had enough success with that with certain clients of major names, so I'm not sure I'm allowed to say on the call. We've got some very significant clientele that use our live online environment, and it was their needs that drove us to look at our own selves and say, wow, we need to do what they're telling us they need, right? We need to develop a live online talent development solution like they're doing. So today we've got it as originally a third-party product. It's now been developed as an internal product and is only being continuously enhanced from a third-party product perspective. The most exciting thing I'm seeing at this point, Robert, is we've gone beyond live online as one opportunity, live in person is another opportunity. We've really got a product that's kind of in between now, where a person could go to a live in-person Dale Carnegie experience, but then do online performance sustainability for a long time after that program ends. So it's really kind of the best of both worlds.
Hey, the other day I'm working on my computer and all of a sudden my email just decides it's not going to work. I can't send, I can't receive, I try all the things I can think of. So I finally have to turn to technical support, right? So I go on technical support and they say, download this remote tool. And it was by a company that I've trained now. I've been privileged to work with for about 3 or 4 years, ConnectWise. And they have this remote access computer software that allows the technicians to fix problems. You know what ConnectWise recently did, Aaron, what they asked for?
What's that?
Okay, so they said, we need some more training. Come back and train our people. I've got a different department, and these people need to be talking with clients and engaging them and getting them to stay with the ConnectWise product or buy more of it or upsell or cross-sell, all those things that have to happen when you're in sales. And they wanted a blended experience. They said, come on site and train some of our people, but we have people out in the field, so take that same on-site training and give it to them in a virtual environment. And then put us through several of the Dale Carnegie virtual live trainings. And after we do all that, bring us all back together, debrief us, make sure that we got it, help us to be stronger, and then do that again as a live online for the people that are in the office. Would you say that's a blended experience of training?
I'd say that's a perfect example of a blended experience. And kudos to you for having the client trust you to see that it could work in both forums. That's great.
Hey, and listen, if you're a computer company out there, ConnectWise, check them out. They're really good stuff. A little plug for a client there, and I hope that was okay with you. Hey, so tell me more about sales leaders. These are a different breed of individual, aren't they? They are not your typical operations or finance people. They are just so highly motivated, and they're really into it, right?
You bet.
But even they need to increase their skills, don't they, Aaron?
Most
so
definitely.
how can sales leaders increase their skills? What do they need to do?
You bet. And I think you make a very important point there, because leadership is hard no matter what you're doing. Leading a sales team, in my personal humble opinion, is about as complex as things can get, because you've got the challenges that come with leading any group of people, combined with the challenges and the rigor, and we'll just call it the hard-nosed toughness of being a successful sales team combined with that. So to be successful as a sales leader, you need a couple things. First of all, the part that we talked about earlier, a strong track record as a salesperson is vital just for credibility's sake. You come into a new sales team, if you haven't done what they've done either at that company or someplace else, you're probably going to have a difficult time getting that group to really resonate with you because you haven't earned the right. So credibility of having done it is one. That's really all that's going to do for you, unfortunately, though, because beyond that credibility, you need really two other skill sets you need to develop. One is your leadership skills. So again, that's everything in the employee life cycle, from hiring all the way through to performance management. And the other variable that you need, the other skill set entirely, is what I would call the blocking and tackling of sales management. What's forecasting all about? What's sales planning look like? And then how do I manage all that in a pipeline where I can get a true read of where we are now versus where we need to be relative to the goal? So you think about all three of those things: credibility of having done it before, leadership skills for the entire employee life cycle, and blocking and tackling of sales management. To be an effective sales leader, you're a jack of many trades and really a master of all three as well.
Hey, over your long and illustrious career with Dale Carnegie, like over 15 years, I heard the other day that you were hitting revenue numbers that you sold over $20 million worth of training products in your career. Is that true?
That is. That was up through year 13 before I sold the franchise. So if you add up my own personal production and that of the teams that I led, we were roughly 20 million. And folks, that's in a world of, we'll call it $1,800 units. So that's 1,800 times a lot to get to that number.
Isn't it so? Hey, this is Robert Graves, your host with the Carnegie Connection, where we're all about Dale Carnegie and all the things that help you increase your skills and marketability in the workplace. Today, we have our honored guest, Aaron Kent. He works for Dale Carnegie Corporate. He's the Director of Sales of Talent Excellence, and we're really glad to have you here with us today, Aaron. Let's continue that conversation about how do we increase sales talent within an organization. Now, a couple of years ago, Dale Carnegie did a survey on employee engagement, and we found there were at least three things that drove engagement. There had to be a strong pride in the organization, a real belief in senior leadership. But there was a third component to that. Do you remember what that was all about, Aaron?
I do. The third piece, Robert, was the relationship that exists between the employee and their most immediate supervisor or manager, to whoever ultimately that person reports to. Of all our drivers for engagement, the one that stood out the most, that had the most impact, was that manager to employee relationship. So if we extrapolate that to a sales setting, that says the relationship a sales leader has with their sales team member is the greatest implication on the retention of that sales team member. And that's vital to the company from a current revenue generation standpoint. It's also vital based on the investment we made to hire that person. So the implications of keeping somebody are very positive. The implications of losing somebody are very, very negative. Therefore, that third variable is just as critical for sales managers and their people as it is for any manager for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So sales leaders make or break an organization. Whether they get that job done and get their sales team out there and doing the things necessary to get sales going or not.
Right.
So Would you say that Dale Carnegie really understands what drives sales leaders and is able to help them and maybe be trained in a virtual environment? What would that look like?
Sure. Yeah, we've got a lot of opportunities for sales leaders to support them. We've got what I would say is something we've been doing for many, many years, and that is our Leadership Training for Managers program. And that is primarily taught in a live in-person setting. It's also a variation of it is available in live online. And then over and above that, we have a series of sales management programs that a sales leader could involve themselves in the live online environment. So the beauty there is you have the option to do it live in person or live online, to do a highly comprehensive program that's many sessions, or if you need some individual skill sets worked on, you could sample the individual live online product. So really comes down to, does the person have the commitment for their own development as a sales leader? If the answer is yes, there's a variety of ways we can help them. And the beauty is they reach out to a consultant like you, and you can help direct them to the most appropriate solution, which the best part for them is they got a lot of options there that'll fit their own unique schedule and situation.
Hey, and that's the fun part for those strong connections with my clients out there and building really trustworthy relationships. It takes a lot of skill to do that as a salesperson. You just don't pick that up in college. You don't pick that up in the street. You pick that up because you're specifically trained. That's what I've found in my career. So Aaron, where do we go next with Dale Carnegie? We have public classes. We have online classes. We have on-site classes. Should people just pick one?
They don't necessarily have to just pick one, because many cases today our clients work with us in what we would call a blended learning scenario. So blended learning means we're striving for some sort of learning outcome or development outcome, but how we get there doesn't just have to be one path. So a blended solution could consist of something that's done via video on demand before the class starts. So I get my initial information by hitting play on my computer. Then I might go to a live in-person setting for a series of sessions where I'm interacting face-to-face. I'm getting coaching that I really have to get in a live in-person setting. And then finally on the back end, I'm getting sustainment via online coaching in a live online environment. Again, that's just one iteration. But the truth is, people have a variety of options there, and we've got consultants that can help them make the best decision for themselves. So it really comes down to their own logistics, their own learning preferences, and in many cases, even the culture in that organization. How do people typically engage in a learning environment? The best news is Dale Carnegie can help you regardless of your situation and your culture as far as learning goes.
And it's all about building skills. So like your title, Sales, Talent, Excellence, it's about building the excellent skills necessary to be stronger. So let's name a few of those. You know, we're lucky to have with us our guest, Aaron Kent, with Dale Carnegie Training. He works in corporate. He works in Sales, Talent, Excellence. He's the director of that for the entire corporation around the world. Aaron, thank you so much for being our guest. Before you get off the line with us, though, could you give us like a couple more ideas of how a sales leader can develop their people? What's the process?
You bet. I think one of the first things we want to do, Robert, is help them recognize, and we were saying at the top of the interview, there is a variety of ways a person can be successful. The key is knowing who we are innately and moving forward from there. So a good sales leader is going to take their people through some sort of exercise to figure that out if they don't already know. And that could be as simple as reading a book. One I would recommend on that subject is Sales Dogs by Blair Singer. It's a simple read that a sales leader could do with their team, and at the end of it, talk about which category do you fall in. And that's at least a starting point of what's my style, what's my sales personality, and I'm going to build my approach around that. Maybe a deeper or more sophisticated way we could go about that same effort is to do some kind of assessment. And Dale Carnegie has a wide variety of assessment tools where we can really benchmark what a salesperson needs to be good at to be successful in a given sales role. So it's beyond just reading a book. We can really measure what are their innate talents. And so now the person knows this and the sales leader knows this. And so the strategic planning they can do for that person's approach to the market is going to be much more targeted. You know, we won't have a person that's a relationship-oriented individual out knocking on doors and cold calling, much in the same way we wouldn't necessarily have a person that loves to go out and close the new account, farming our largest customer, right? Trying to cultivate more business with our biggest account. That's just a very rudimentary, simple example, but you get the idea, right? If we have the person aligned with what they do best, and we help them conclude that, we both agree on it, we've got a lot more confidence moving forward to support the development of that person.
Thank you so much, Aaron. That was wonderful. And I love Blair Singer's book on sales dogs. I find myself to often be a retriever, and sometimes I'm a little bit of a chihuahua. If you don't know what I'm talking about, guys, check out Blair's book. Excellent read. And so, Aaron, we were fortunate to have you with us today. Thank you for all that you brought to the team that's out there in the audience. We're talking about sales skills development for the person, for the sales leader, for the organization. Thank you so much for being a part of our group today. We appreciate it.
Robert, I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. This is Robert Graves with the Carnegie Connection, where we're all about Dale Carnegie and developing your skills to increase your marketability in the marketplace. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Bye now.